Hello, and you are very welcome back to the Public Eye Business Podcast, brought to you by Granite Exchange. I'm your host, Sarah Travers, and throughout the series I'm speaking with local entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how their companies have come to be, to gain insight into their growth and find out how they continue to innovate. So wherever you get your podcasts from, remember to keep an eye out for all new episodes and subscribe to stay up to date. So today I am joined by Kelly Nevins, owner of Babocush. Kerry, it is great to see you in the podcast studio. How are you today?
I'm really well, thank you, Sarah.
Now, before we begin, as always, the background on Kerry and her story. It is incredible. So, Babocush is an innovative solution which provides safety and comfort to babies and peace of mind to their parents. Kerry came up with her incredible business idea in 2003 following the birth of her son Harry, which sparked her £1 million business idea. So Harry was only settled and content when resting against Kerry's chest. Parents will be sympathising with this. So Harry cried in his bouncer, his pram, his cot. He even cried in his car seat. And so, Kerry's quest for designing the ultimate swaddling cushion with soothing sounds and motion began, and Babocush was born. It had taken Kerry 11 years, though, and tens of thousands of pounds later. But finally, in December 2015, Babocush arrived at the distribution centre, ready for sales, which had been slow to start, but actually everything changed the moment Kerry posted a video online, which was sent from a customer showing how Babocush instantly settled a fussing baby. Now, following the video, sales went through the roof. The product became such a huge success, Kerry was approached by Tucker Sullivan from BBC's Dragon's Den to go into business together. Kerry, it's a story that you know really well, but others might be hearing for the first time. It is incredible, and to think that it all started with your little bundle back in 2003. Had you any idea that you were onto something?
Well, Harry was my second baby, so if this had happened with my first, well, it just wouldn't have happened with my first because she was a very settled baby. Harry popped out, and from the moment he was born, he was just really whingy, cried all the time. He just always seemed unhappy and like he was never settled unless I was holding him. And I just thought he was a needy, clingy baby, but I thought he's so young. You know, he was only a few days and a few weeks old, and I literally couldn't set him down. And when I did, it was very stressful because if I had to have a shower or spend time with Amy or, you know, put the baby down, all he did was cry. So I couldn't set him in his bouncer. I used to take him out for drives and think cars always settle a baby. As soon as we approached a red traffic light, he started to cry. So in the end, I used to look at his little bouncer and just dream of putting him in there and think if only I could set him down. Mm-hmm. It's not that I didn't want to hold my baby. I just needed to put him down so I could make myself some lunch or go and answer the door or, you know, just whatever, go to the toilet, basic needs. So in the end, I stared at my bouncer and thought if this bouncer would hold him the way I hold him, like on his tummy. People said, just lie him on his tummy on a play mat or in his cot. No, he was flat. It didn't work. In the end, somebody said maybe he's got silent reflux or something like that else. Because I knew there was no visible reflux, no signs of anything. So in the end, I got some pillows and cushions and things from around the house and tried to convert his bouncer into a tummy time sort of a bouncer, that he was lying on a curved surface, but his face kept sinking in. The pillows and the cushions were too soft and I thought this thing isn't safe and how do I keep him on there once he is on? So in the end, I contacted an upholstery company. Because I knew the sofa that I was sitting on, that was quite a firm piece of foam in there, and I thought maybe if I could get some foam that was quite firm. Gosh. So I went to Dunmurry. I can't remember the place, it was so long ago now. Harry's now 19. And he just said, just take this. It was a sheet of inch deep foam and about a metre in size or more, a couple of metres. So I took it home and started chopping it up with scissors and layering it, you know, so like a small rectangular piece with a larger piece and a larger piece and a larger piece, all sort of layered on top of each other. And in the end, this had made sort of a curved shaped mattress. And I just got a needle and thread, sewed it together so it didn't fall apart, and got my sewing machine out, went to a fabric shop, got some fleece fabric, nice
Oh,
soft
my
fabric.
goodness.
I know this sounds, I'm not a seamstress by any stretch of the imagination, but I was desperate. And sewed a cover onto this thing and then made a harness sort of out of Velcro. And I actually put it on the sofa first. I thought it's not going to lie in this bouncer. So I set it on the sofa and set Harry on top of it. And I thought, actually I had a hot water bottle. I had all the gear ready. So I just fed him. Hot water bottle was on this lumpy piece of foam lying beside me. I extracted him from me after he'd burped and gently put him onto this, removed the hot water bottle so he didn't know the difference. And it was the first time I left the sofa without holding him where he didn't cry.
So how old was he at this point?
He was probably about 3 weeks old.
Oh, gosh.
So, 3 weeks of non-stop crying, it's a long time as a new mum.
And you were at your wit's end, but
Yeah.
you must have been desperate to have gone to such lengths to create this.
Oh, I was desperate, and I was home alone with Amy. She was only 2 at the time. My husband was out working, and I was just on my own. I was a young parent. I was in my early 20s, and all my friends were still working and doing other things, so that I had nobody to really connect with and talk to about it. So I remember making it to the kitchen, and I made a sandwich and boiled the kettle, and I got about 3 or 4 minutes, and he hadn't cried, and then he started, but I felt like, oh my God, this is brilliant. I got to the kitchen and back, and he's only crying now. And I thought, but that's not good enough. What do I do? So his little bouncer had like a wee control box on it, a vibration device thing. These chairs that do funny movements and things. His just vibrated. So I ripped the thing off, shoved it under this creation that I'd made, put him back on after his next feed, and he lay there for 2 hours. And I thought, why? It's just a vibration. It's just a gentle, because I thought this thing maybe needs a heartbeat. He's too smart to know that I'm not holding him. So I thought maybe a heartbeat would be the thing, but no, this vibration device. And I thought, wow,
Aren't you so creative, though, creative or desperate, as you say?
Yeah, I'm from quite a sort of a creative family where my dad was always a fixer. If there was a problem, it was going to be solved. Growing up, everything was fixed. And my dad, we didn't sort of throw things out and buy new things. He was really creative and, good with his hands.
So this transformed your life?
Yeah.
At that time?
Oh, it really did. And everybody else's, because I wasn't whinging anymore and crying, with my mum, I'm so tired. I was constantly phoning my mum saying, I can't even sleep at night. Whenever I go to bed at night, Harry, he won't lie in his cot. He won't lie. I used to bring his pram upstairs and rock his pram, just try anything. Nothing worked. So I sat semi-upright every night in bed with him lying on my chest, and that's how I slept.
Or not, or didn't sleep.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
And
And
then
I'm sure there are many people that can sympathise if they have, a child like that. So that was in 2003.
Yeah.
11 years it took.
Well, that was in 2003. So Amy was 2, Harry was a newborn baby. This thing that I created, he was great. That did him up until about 6 or 7 months, whenever he was able to roll over and he was on solid foods and he was much more settled at that point. So
What does he think about actually being the instigation for this amazing product?
he does. Do you know what? It's one of those things where you would think, oh, imagine, you all must be talking about this and Harry must think, wow, but it's just life, the way, my husband has his job and I do my thing and nobody really talks about it to us. It's just everyday life now. It's not like, wow, mummy made this. But whenever they were younger and before it was out there, I remember Harry was probably about 8 or 9 months old. And one of my sisters, different friends and family members were starting to have babies and people were saying, can I borrow that thing you made for Harry? Even though their babies didn't have whatever it was Harry had, they weren't as bad. But just for those moments when the baby's just being clingy or they're teething and you can't set them down, whatever. So this thing went round, lots of different people. And I remember Andrew was on night shift, my husband. The kids were both in bed, happy and settled. And I was just lying in the living room listening to music. And I suddenly thought, I should, the Babocush, as it wasn't called then, it was just a thing, was with somebody. And I thought, if this works for me and it works for people's babies who don't have colic and reflux, why am I not thinking about selling? I could actually make money and sell this because I was a childminder at the time and we were a bit strapped for cash and, life was a bit tough back then. You were sort of watching every penny. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to do this. But then you wake up the next day and you think, oh, right.
What does that actually involve?
Yeah, what do I do?
How did you do it?
Well, back then it was the Yellow Pages. We didn't even have a computer in the house.
Gosh.
Or an iPhone. They didn't exist.
No.
Did an iPhone exist 19 years ago? I don't know.
In 2003, 4? I have I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
Well, we certainly didn't have them. So I went to the Yellow Pages and thought, inventors, will go to inventors. So I started off with inventors clubs, made a phone call and said, hello, you sounded, I felt like I sounded like a crazy person.
Yeah.
I've created this baby product.
Tinkering in the shed at the bottom of the garden.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it conjures up all these visions in your head of crazy men with wacky hair. So I spoke to a nice elderly gentleman, he sounded like, in the phone, and I said, what do I do, where do I go? And he invited me to come along to their club one night, six men in this inventors club. And I thought, oh no. I said, well, what are my other options? I've got a young family. And he suggested that I contact my local university. And I thought, well, that's handy. My local university is about a 1 minute walk away. I was living in Jordanstown at the time. So I did that, contacted the innovation department and spoke to a lovely man there. He actually said, he worked from Jordanstown near me, and he said, I can call in with you later today on my way home. So he did. It turns out his wife was a midwife. So he got the idea immediately. He had young children. He loved it. And he said, right, look, we'll help you. But he said, why don't you go to Invest NI, who I'd never heard of at the time. Mm-hmm. Why would I? Mm-hmm. So that, it was just step by step by step. So contacted Invest NI, and they liked the idea. I didn't know what I was going to do. They just said, come in and see us and bring it with you. So I sat down, had a meeting with a man, and he said, I can see, why you've done this. It seems good. He said, so if you could do a presentation in front of a panel of not judges, I can't remember what he called them, and I thought, oh dear God, no, do I have to do that? This, I immediately started thinking, oh no. But I thought, okay, I have to do it. Uh-huh. So I went home, and you can imagine, you met me years ago and I was a nervous person, but this was a very long time ago. So next thing, a couple of weeks later, I brought it in. I brought my mum with me because I said, Mum, I'll probably freeze. So just come and stand beside me or something.
So doing presentations was just something that you feared terribly.
Yeah, bringing back to school days, even standing up in front of a class, it was just something where my face went so red, and burned so much that my eyes watered, where I looked like I was crying if I ever had to stand up.
This podcast is sponsored by Granite Legal Services, a niche business and immigration law practice located in the heart of Newry City. Granite Legal Services provides legal advice to both individuals and companies alike across a wide range of industries, from employment, commercial or corporate law matters to immigration law. Granite Legal Services focuses on providing legally sound, practical advice to its clients. To get in touch, visit www.granitelegalservices.co.uk or contact 028 3026 2200. So tell me about that presentation.
Yeah, so it was nerve-wracking. I'm glad Mum was there because I did freeze, and she just started to talk. As soon as she started to talk, I took a breath, and then it was like, I'm okay now. So then I took over. I was only in the room for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. They asked a lot of questions. I told them what it was and why it came about, and, about different people that had used it. And then at the end, I think they contacted me later that day and said, right, we'd like to help you out. Gosh. That was how it worked back then. I don't know how Invest and I work now, or if you would even go through a process like that. So they basically then they gave me a list of, they said your first stop would be patent attorneys getting it protected. And then you immediately get nervous. So I know a lot of people feel nervous whenever they have an idea, because a lot of people contact me about their ideas and say, oh, I don't know if I can tell you, because they think someone's going to copy it.
Yeah.
And if I always say to them, believe me, the reason a lot of people don't do this is because it's such a long and difficult journey. And I don't want to put people off either. But it is, nobody's going to copy your idea. The big people that are already out there aren't going to copy it because they have a reputation to protect. And then little people, just everyday people just don't have the money to do it. It takes so much funding.
And did you worry about that at the start then?
I had no idea. I mean, in my head, my vision was, okay, I'm just going to sell a few of these throughout Northern Ireland. Locally, I'd heard of another baby product, and I heard that she went to the international airport because hers was good for people travelling. It was a product you would bring if you were travelling with young children. And, she had a stand in Castle Court, and I thought, well, do things like that and just try and build up some momentum locally, sell a few here and there. I had no idea. So I thought the journey would be easy, but as it all unfolded, and Invest and I said, you need to do this and you need to get design protection, and why don't you speak to this girl who's done it before? It started to become quite overwhelming. But as each week and month and year went by, you thought, I've come this far, I can't have put in all this work and time and effort and money and turn back now. So that's hence the 11 years. I had nobody who'd done it before that I could speak to that could say, do it this way, this is what you do.
But 11 years, I mean, that's a long time, Kerry. To even have the stickability with it. Did you ever walk away at times? Or
yeah, I remember somebody said to me, you do realise you're on a 6 or 7 year journey here with this, if you're lucky.
Are you serious?
And I thought,
with a product that you have an idea for, that's what you're talking about.
I remember it was a man, and I met him through Invest NI, and I found him to be really, I met a lot of really, not unkind, but I would look at them as sort of unkind, unhelpful, negative people along the way. And I thought, people that seem to have maybe a chip on their shoulder. And I used to look at them and think, why are you being so hard on me?
Where's the positivity?
Yeah,
where's
the encouragement?
Yes.
Just, what have you got to lose by telling me this could work? You could do it. So I thought maybe I'll end up being like one of these people if it does end up working, but I'm not. I'm really positive and encouraging people to do these things themselves as well. So
what did you do throughout those 11 years? That's a long time. The family have grown up and you're still, at that stage, are you still, do you still have the belief from other people?
Oh, yeah. So during those 11 years, it was about, number one, getting it protected, getting the product protected. But then if you do that too early and then you make quite a lot of changes to it, that can be quite an expensive journey as well. You're putting money towards a different type of design and you're protecting it in different countries and territories. Do I start just Northern Ireland? But if I only protect it in Northern Ireland /UK, what if somebody in America sees it and they copy it? Your mind's constantly
paranoid.
Yeah, paranoid, and you're so in the thick of it yourself that you can't see the wood for the trees. Sometimes I just felt I needed to step outside and look in on it, and I had other people that did that for me, family members that would say, right, you're overthinking this.
Okay.
Because then people would say, you need to change it, it's not safe, you need to add a shell, so if somebody drops a pot in the kitchen on the baby's head, it's protected. And I was like, oh, please.
Did you add that?
I tried. Do you know what? I was going to do it, and I remember my cousin Jamie said to me, Kerry, you can't please everybody. Okay. Everybody you speak to is going to say, you should add this and you should do that. So he said, it works. It's, so the basic thing as I designed it for Harry is exactly what's for sale now, and it has not changed. It doesn't need to change. So this went on for 11 years. It was trying to find suppliers. Initially I found a man in London who I found through various contacts and people that I met along the way, and he had contacts. He made office furniture, so he had contacts in Poland and Sweden and different parts of the world, and he managed to find a factory that were able to make a mould which would do the foam in the shape that I wanted, and they were based in Poland, but they couldn't do the cover. They also couldn't do the packaging or the leaflet, but there was a company in Sweden could do the cover. So I was getting a prototype of the foam made in Poland, the cover made in Sweden, and then the packaging. I thought, I'll maybe just do it locally. But the thought of them bringing all that together, I thought this thing's going to cost about £1,000 to make. Who's going to buy one?
I know.
So, I just thought I can't do this. But I had this thing in my head, which I know a lot of people have, which is I thought I'm not going to China, as in I'm not getting a product made in China because it's all crap, it's all rubbish, cheap crap you get from China. And now I don't believe that anymore, having been on the journey I've been on. If you find the right people and places, there is a lot of rubbish available in China, but there's also a lot of good stuff made, and they're highly talented, highly skilled people out there if you find the right ones.
Is the product made in China now?
Yes, it's made in China, and I'm proud to say that.
Yes.
Because it was the only place I could get it made all under one roof. The safety testing's done in China. The product, the foam, the cover, the control box, the packaging, the leaflet, everything is done under one roof, and it's all very controlled and contained, and nobody can say, oh, well, you made the foam too big, that's why the cover's too small, because I was.
And did you travel there to make sure that it was the right?
I didn't, Sarah. I'm not good at traveling. I can go to Spain, no problem, but you can't put me on a plane for 9 or 10 hours. I have done it, but it's torture. Unless you want to fly me first class, then that's okay, but no. I was lucky. I was such a hands-on mum. I was a childminder for 15 years, and the reason I was a childminder is because I couldn't bear to leave my children when they were born. Mm-hmm. I just thought, I can't do it.
No.
And it would have really messed up my head.
And was that difficult, do you think, in terms of progressing the business?
It was, people would have thought, oh, but you're at home, you've got all the time in the world to do these things, but it was so hard because the reason I was a childminder was so I could spend more time with my children. But then I had other people's children, so I used to feel, but I need to give them my time.
Of course.
You know, so
you can't be on calls and business calls. You're supposed to be looking after the children.
Yeah.
Imagine, though, if you were doing it now with technology the way it is, it'd probably be easier to have all those Zoom calls or whatever, face-to-face, see who you're talking to, show me around the factory, all of that.
Yeah, big time. But I think the way everything happened as well, if it had happened a few years sooner than what it did, we wouldn't have had the crazy viral activity on Facebook and social media, because that wasn't so big back then.
So let's talk about that a little. You now have, so we fast forwarded 11 years, you now have Babocush.
Yeah, so I pressed the button, placed my order for my first 1,000 units, finally after 11 years. It was such a nerve-wracking experience because I had done everything. I mean, the reason it took 11 years is because I'm so fussy as well, and I didn't want to leave anything to chance. And this was not just, you know, a water bottle that I was creating, or a placemat. This was Yeah, this is something that it potentially could harm or kill a child. You know, that's the way my mind was thinking about this. So it had to be absolutely perfect. So as soon as that first order was placed, and that was, you know, about, I think, £30,000 worth of an order.
And where did you get the money?
My mum helped me out with that, and Invest NI. The problem with Invest NI, though, is as wonderful and supportive as they are, you don't get the funding until you've spent the money yourself. So I used to say to them, it doesn't make sense. You know, we need the money.
No,
you know,
up front. That's a big problem for people, isn't it? They just, you know, where am I going to get the funding to start off?
Thank
goodness for Mum.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she's very glad she did.
Yeah, she is. I mean, there were a few family members who thought, oh, you're mad, you know, what are you doing? Not that they would be very vocal about it, but I knew that there were a few whispers going on where they thought, oh, and of course I probably would have been that person too. You know, this is a risk, and it felt awful that I couldn't fund it myself and I was having to take Mum's money, but she was, you know, really.
But she was adamant and she believed in your product.
Yeah. I mean, she saw firsthand my son, you know, going from wah to whoo.
And you know, the fact that you had your friends and your family and they got results as well. So what happened next?
So these 1,000 units, they took 5 weeks to land in a UK warehouse. I remember people saying, are you going to post these out yourself? Are they going to go to your garage? And I thought, I wouldn't. Where would I put 1,000? It's quite a big product. So thank goodness I organised a freight company, a distribution company, where they went to in Northern Ireland. And I had them this was now the end, sort of coming into December, the stock arrived. And my website was really iffy, and every time I looked at it, there were spelling mistakes and just stuff, you know, the technology, it just changes. You press a button and it goes all skew-iff. Yeah. So I was quite, worried about that. And I thought I'd just have to put it out of my head till after Christmas. So a few kind family and friends, you know, friends of friends and stuff like that, you know, bought 1 or 2. And after Christmas, once I had a bit more time, I said, look, anybody who's bought one, would you send me a photo or video of your baby so I can start trying to build things up on social media and share bits and bobs. So that was great. I shared a couple of photos, nice photos. But then a parent had bought one in January. I think it was January. And she sent me a video of her baby on the Babocush. So I just she shared it on her Facebook page. I then shared it on the Babocush Facebook page. And her baby wasn't a particularly unsettled baby really compared to Harry, but he just loved the Babocush. He loved lying on that position on his tummy. So he was a bit whingy, just you know, not screaming his head off. And the video was just her then putting him on, strapping him in, and him just, you just physically saw him relax on it.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I posted that one Tuesday night. I always remember it was a Tuesday night, and about an hour later, I got a message from a friend saying, oh, Kerry, congratulations. And I said, oh, what's happened? And she said, your Facebook video, you know, it's going viral. And I went, what
does
Facebook
that even
video?
mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? So I went on and looked, and it said, the video, I said, it says 10 million, 10M something. And I thought, what does that mean? So it turns out it had 10 million views within about 2 hours of me posting it. So this is about, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I was getting ready for bed, and I was like, oh, this is very exciting. How am I going to sleep tonight? So this went on, and then lots more people were messaging, and then people were sending me videos from Huffington Post. Your video has been shared by Huffington Post. I thought, who are they? But then I was reading the comments below this Huffington Post video of my product, and it was like all my worst nightmares had come true. This, lots of positive, 90% positive comments. This is amazing. Where can I buy this? Da, da, da. And I was trying to answer all these messages and keep up with them. But then, you should never lie a baby on its tummy. This is a cot death risk. Your baby will die. And, all these terrible people. And I was trying to reply saying, this isn't a bed. it's the equivalent of a rocker. It's something that can hold your baby, so you can set it down if you want to jump in the shower or make a cup of tea. It's not
a permanent babysitter that you pop that baby on forever.
But
No.
people loved it. A bit of scandal. But it was the best thing that ever happened. All that negativity, it just sent it viral.
And Ashton Kutcher, the actor, what did he do?
He came a few weeks later. So there were, the Huffington Post, that was a big page. They shared it. It got lots of views. I woke up the next morning to a crashed website. People were saying, I can't order your product. Where can I find this? So I had, I think, over 1,000 emails. There were 300,000 and something comments on Facebook below my video. I had just, hundreds of thousands of shares and likes and all the rest. So from that, then people were saying, oh, Ashton Kutcher shared your video now, or CNBC has shared your video now. I was like, what is happening here? And I thought, Ashton Kutcher, I remember looking at this thinking, is this really Ashton Kutcher? But he had, so many millions of followers, tens of millions of followers, and all these orders were just flying in. I actually had to build a new website 4 times within the space of about 2 months, I think. I had 4 new websites because my website just couldn't keep up with the traffic.
So how many orders did you have at that time?
Well, before I had only ordered 1,000. That was my minimum order quantity. They sold out immediately. I woke up the next morning, basically whenever that first video went viral, to all my stock was sold, but people wanted, they were mainly in America, all these buyers. So I thought, where is this really true? Can I even sell these? Can I ship these to America? I don't know. So I contacted the distribution company and they said, what is happening here? Is something broken? They didn't think it was real. So they were nervous to start sending out orders. They thought something had been, I think there was a bug or we'd been hacked or something.
So what was this, about 2013, 2014?
Yes, this was 2015, January 2015.
So even that whole online buying and shipping around the world was quite new.
Oh yeah, especially to me. I remember ordering something on eBay back then. My husband said, don't ever order off eBay or anywhere again. You've done it all wrong. That was a scam. And I thought, but then everybody thought I was a scam. They were all saying, this is a scam. Don't order from this company. Who are they anyway? And I thought, why are you saying this? The abuse you get when you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah, but you were ahead of the curve, really, and then maybe that support wasn't quite there. And then who do you listen to get advice? Okay, so how did you meet the demand?
Well, the thing was, because I'd ordered these first 1,000 units, I thought at least I'll have, maybe a year to sell these, and then I'll get some feedback and I'll make sure that it really is safe. Nothing has happened. Nothing has come loose or gone wrong. But I had to make that decision basically within a week. Do I order more stock or do I just wait and see, is everything okay with this? But I thought, if I do that, I'm going to miss the boat. I need to ride this wave. So I immediately ordered 2,000 more units. And I thought, okay.
So had you had money come in at this point that you could use?
Oh, yeah.
You were reinvested.
Yeah, I sold them all. So, woo, happy days.
Amazing.
Ordered 2,000 more, easy, paid for them. But people think, oh, it was like winning the lottery, but with a lot of fear as well, it's so much responsibility.
You've gone from being a childminder, as you said, money was tight, hard to make ends meet, and then suddenly all of this money's coming in.
Yes, I remember sitting at my computer and I had, it was a notification every time an order came through. It was going ding, ding, but it was just going ding, 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 ding. I had to turn it all off. I even had my husband on his days off. He was a firefighter. He sat at one computer and I sat at the other because it was just me doing this all on my own.
And what did he think?
He said, I feel like I'm married to a footballer, because you're earning more than a footballer, the top guys earn. That sounds really pompous, doesn't it? I don't mean it that way, but
that's the shock.
It felt so unreal.
And yes, is this even my money? I don't even know what to do with it. And
well, I didn't. It just went straight into the business.
And all of those things.
Sarah, I didn't take any money for, I don't know, for maybe about 6 or 7 months. Well, no, it couldn't have been that long. It felt like forever. Time just completely froze for me, and I was just in this bubble of, I wasn't getting, well, I was because I was childminding, but it got really crazy. I employed one girl who contacted me. She was actually my ex-babysitter whenever we were younger, so she was about 10 years older than us, and she said, oh, congratulations on your business, da, 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 da. And I said, if by any chance you're out of work, please let me know. I need help. And she said, I actually am. I'm available. I've just, I've left my old job. And I said, oh my God, please help me. And she was fantastic. So efficient. She had fancy ways of doing things, text, where she could just do text replacement and answer questions in the split second. And I learned a lot from her, actually. But she just completely took over all the day-to-day sort of running, admin side of things.
That's incredible. So talk us through then. When did Dragon's Den happen?
Oh, that was a good while later. So that this all sort of really massively kicked off in February. I ordered 2,000 more units, and I ordered another 3,000 units, and I ordered 5,000, then I ordered 15,000, and that was all within that year. I had to give up childminding. I thought I can't do both, but the thought of that, because that was my career for 15 years, and it was still this fear of what if something goes wrong with the Babocush, that I have to go back to childminding if I give it up, and then I lose all my beautiful children.
So it was fear. It was just holding you back.
Fear, but it didn't. I had to move forward. It could have held me back, but I couldn't allow it to. So, gave up childminding in the April, and bought a new car in the April. So I thought I could actually buy a new car. I'm going to get a BMW. I was so excited. So I did. And then we moved house as well. Everything just happened so fast that year because I needed to be in a different location with my kids' school and horse riding and different activities and things. Everything was over the other side of town in Hollywood. So we finally got our dream house over there. Everything just
so life transformed in a matter of months.
Yes, it did. Yeah, it really did.
Unbelievable. And then was it Tucker Suleiman contacted you?
Well, Dragon's Den kept contacting me and saying, would you come on Dragon's Den? This would be really good, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, there's no way.
I met you first around that time.
Did you? Is that when we first met? And I thought, there's no way. Yes, you did. Of course you did. That's why I met you, because I needed help. And I thought, there's no way. No, I'm not going to go on Dragon's Den. I've seen too many people make complete fools of themselves, and I'll be that person. I'll not be one of those people that confidently gives them the numbers and the facts and the figures. I'll just dissolve.
So you needed a wee bit of help with your presentation skills, which is what my business, Bespoke Communications, does. And really, it was meeting this amazing woman who had no self-belief in what she could do, and you didn't, because you're chatting here today and you're so relaxed and you're like, you're a totally different person.
Do you think so? Can you see
it? Of course I do. And it was that fear or that danger, feeling you had to be perfect and feelings that you were going to trip up or let yourself down. But,
no confidence in myself.
And yet everybody else was starting to really notice you and want a piece of the action and just wanted you to do well as well, Kerry.
Yeah, I know. Just all these voices in my head as well. I'm telling myself one thing, but everyone else is telling me other things. And I thought, are these people just humouring me? Mm-hmm. So Dragon's Den asked me several times to go on. I met you. I went through them. I knew that I actually wouldn't go on the show. I didn't need the funding for a start. You only go on that show if you need their money. And I didn't, so that would have been dishonest, but I know a lot of people go on and do that anyway. But actually I could say, oh yes, I wasn't going to be dishonest, and that's what stopped me. No, my nerves and thinking I can't do that. I just can't do it. I'm just paralysed doing things like that. So I sort of watch Dragon's Den occasionally anyway, so I started watching a lot more, and I thought I liked Tucker. He seemed nice, and he seemed to be the baby guy. He had another couple of baby products. And he didn't actually approach me. I approached him. I sent him an email and said, hi, I have a product and Dragon's Den have asked me to go on, and I don't think I have the confidence to do it. But in bullet point form, I thought, I'm not going to bore this guy because I know he's probably very busy. So I said, here's a link to my website. Here's a link to our social media pages. Here's what I've done in this past year. Here's the turnover. Please let me know if you'd ever want to meet or chat or whatever. I got an email back that day saying, can you come and see me in London next Tuesday? And I think I was on the Friday, and I went, okay.
All right then.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Gosh.
So I went to London and met Uncle Tucker, and he was lovely. Do you know what? I actually felt relaxed with him. Mm-hmm. I wasn't that nervous. Mm-hmm. I went and sat in his office with him and one of his colleagues, and it was just like being in a room chatting to a nice family member. He was just like, what do you want from me, and what can we do together, and that sort of thing. And I said, look, all I know is I have done this and I'm completely overwhelmed. I'm online only, but I know that you have lots of contacts and connections throughout the world through distribution and retail and things like that. And I was probably getting, I would say, about 300 or 400 emails a week from retailers and distributors throughout the world saying, can we sell your product? And I just ignored them all because I didn't know even how to manage my own stock, never mind get enough stock to supply all of them.
So it's just that business sense, that advice, and how do I do this? How do I do this correctly?
And people are always filling your head full of horror stories saying, if you get the wrong distributor, they can destroy your brand, they can do this, they can undercut you on price. And I just thought, it's too much of a headache. I just don't have time to think about it. But I thought, this guy would have time to think about it.
And did Tucker help you with that?
Yeah, he said, look, what do you want from me? If your website's really successful, I'm sure you don't want to give any of that away. And I said, no, I don't. And I'm quite happy. I'm in the flow now with this. I just need help with retail and distribution, even to know should I or shouldn't I? And he said, well, then why don't we go into business together for the retail and distribution side of things? And I went, all right. And basically from that day, we did. We just started. He said, let's do this on a handshake. I'll help you out straight away. He was just so lovely.
And how did that work then? How was that relationship?
How did it work? I mean, we were just on the phone constantly and Zooming, Zoom calls and things. And I flew back and forth to London a couple of times and stayed in his house. And yeah, he's lovely, and just went out for meals and stuff like that.
And how did that relationship transform business?
It just took so much pressure off my shoulders. I felt like I was part of a team. And I know a lot of people love to go into business and do it all themselves. I'm not that person. I'm just not that person. I love the support. And I'm not the sort of person that feels like I want all the money and all the glory for myself. I'm like, I'm happy for you to have some of that too, in order, just because if you think, I go back over my life and I think the reason I was a childminder is I wanted to have time for my kids. I want to get the balance right.
Yeah.
I want to do a bit of work and earn some nice money.
And have a nice life. A good balance.
And I didn't have a life. See, for a good 2 years, whenever Babocush first took off, I didn't have a life. And I felt so guilty that I just didn't have time for my kids. So whenever Tucker came along, I just started sending him all the accounts and all the paperwork and the admin sort of stuff. And his team just took over, and I thought, this is going to be such a mess. Initially, it's going to take months to settle into a routine. It didn't. Nothing went wrong. Everything went right. He managed all the stock.
So all of that worry, all of that anxiety,
literally,
you just needed
changed.
to trust. And how much of a cut was he getting then in the business?
Not talking about that, Sarah.
Oh, go on, Kerry.
No.
Right, okay. And are you still working together?
Yes, we're still working together.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
we're still together.
Where are you now then with Babocush?
So now somebody said to me in my last holiday in Spain, enjoy your retirement, because I said, I feel like I'm retired.
Have you stepped back a lot?
Yeah, well, I mean, from whenever I first met Tucker, I really did take a step back. So I'm very much involved in new product development and different ideas. And, I do like to keep on top of things, and I will always be in touch probably 3 or 4 times a week with our agent in Hong Kong. He's based in Hong Kong, but he would do all the sourcing and deal with all the factories, which is lovely. That's why we don't have to go to China and do. I mean, I still, even to this day, I think I wouldn't know what to do if I went to China.
But it's such an incredible story that started, with a need that you had, and you built something with your own hands through your creativity. You had that belief in the product, but not in the belief in yourself.
Oh yeah.
You built relationships based on trust, which is actually a good thing to have done. You might have jumped in too quickly with someone else and it wouldn't have worked. But you have been able now to get that work-life balance right.
Yes, I really do. I have so much time for me and my family, and my life's just lovely. I get up and I don't have to set an alarm in the morning.
Do you pinch yourself sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I'm the sort of person, I meditate, and I'm quite spiritual, and I'm into, the law of attraction and that sort of thing. So I'm always, every day, if not every minute of the day, I'm constantly grateful and thanking and saying thank you for my lovely life, and, thank you for all the time that I have. And I think the more you sort of affirm those nice positive things, maybe the more you bring that into your life. If I do look back, I can see a pattern there.
And how big is the team now? How many people actually work for Babocush?
So Tucker has a team of, I don't know how many people working for him, and Babocush is a branch of what they do. So they manage several different brands, not very many baby brands, but Tucker has his own company. So there's a guy in London, Will, who would be the main one that I would speak to most days, and then we've got Mike in Hong Kong, who's a sourcing agent just for everybody, and I would put a lot of people in touch with him as well. And then there's accounts department and various other people that would manage the stock and things that I never need to talk to. I just get emails occasionally, but they do everything. So I would say probably in his offices in London, there's maybe 4 or 5 people just doing, dipping in and out and doing bits and pieces for Babocush and other brands.
And have you got other products now?
Yes, we have a bouncer that we're selling. I have a rocker that's nearly ready. I mean, people probably think, what's a bouncer and a rocker? What's the difference? But a rocker is sort of does its own thing. You press a button and it goes and it keeps moving. A bouncer doesn't do that. You have to sort of bounce it yourself. And I'm just working on, reflux wedge and, more sort of basic products. I mean, I think people think, oh, what new innovative thing are you going to do next? But it's all been done. You know,
I know
the only
people
thing
have been
hadn't
having
done-
babies forever, and you still
Yeah.
need to shush them and relax mum as well, or
Yeah,
dad.
I know.
Yeah. What would you say have been the biggest challenges for you, and what are you most proud that you overcame?
Oh, flip. What am I most proud that I overcame? I mean, I think the biggest obstacles would have been just the unknown. If someone had said to me at the start when I first phoned that Inventors Club and Invest NI, here is a quick, preview of the journey you're going to go through over the next 11 years, I would have gone, no, I'm not going to do it. It's
too
okay.
scary.
I'm not going to do it. But now that I'm in this position, it's almost as if that all just falls away and it's all okay. So I think, I can't remember the exact statistics, but I remember at the start, and people always said 98% or something like that of people, with an idea, it doesn't come to fruition. It doesn't come to anything. And even if it does, most of those don't succeed anyway. So that will immediately put a lot of people off, because it is an investment of your money and your time, and you have to sacrifice a lot.
But it's worth it.
It's definitely been worth it for me.
Okay.
I just think, what would I be doing now? I loved childminding, I did, but life was a struggle. Life is tough, and I think it's tough for everybody, even people who seemingly have it all. Nobody is without their struggles.
And how many items, how many have you sold now, do you know?
Oh, flip, I have no idea. I mean, tens of thousands, but I don't have an
incredible.
exact figure. Isn't it funny? You'd think I should be able to go, we've sold.
Yes,
exactly.
So the phone doesn't ding all the time
No,
anymore.
no,
Chuckers
it
dings
doesn't
or
work
somebody
that way.
else does. Yeah, well, it is such a wonderful success story, and it's great to see you so happy. And you mentioned there that you also give advice to others now, so you believe in giving back.
Oh, massively. So over the years, even since within the first year, people would have contacted me through my website saying, hi, I saw your product. I think it's amazing. I have a business idea. I have a product idea. Would you be able to help me, or where would I go? And I used to spend hours talking to these people or setting up Zoom calls. And for years and years, people, especially my sister, said, Kerry, why are you doing this? You're giving away all your time for free. And I thought, because see, if somebody had said to me, here's what you do, I said, I'm literally saving these people tens of thousands of pounds and years, they can be ready to go within 6 months, just from an hour-long conversation with me. And that's how much it can help people. So in the end, now I've got a lot more time in my hands. I thought, okay, I'll just set up this
Consultancy.
Consultancy. So, and it's been great, but I'm not really doing very much with it. I'm not, actively trying to get customers or anything, but I do like helping people, and I do like, you can see just the relief wash over people when I'm on a call with them. They're like, oh, I was so worried about that, and it's okay.
Well, actually, I ask this last question to every single person who sits where you are in the podcast studio, okay? But actually today, I really feel the advice is going to be really worth listening to, because the purpose of this podcast is to inspire existing business owners and those ambitious entrepreneurs to grow their business by offering insight into the success of businesses such as Babocush. So, Kerry, what advice would you give to people? I've no money to give you this advice, but what advice today on the Public Eye podcast would you give to people who may have a business idea but have no idea where to begin, or are unsure as to whether the risk is worth taking?
It depends. Well, I was going to say it depends on where your idea comes from. I think a lot of people lie in bed at night and think, how can I make money? What can I do? What can I invent? Which, I mean, I don't know. I've never met anyone who's made a success by thinking that way. But what I have noticed a lot over the years is the people I come into contact with, if they're living their passion or they're working, what they've been passionate about, what has started out maybe as a hobby or just something they've loved, and they have pursued it, and it just has evolved and turned into something that has made them a really lovely living. If it's something that came about naturally, like Harry's did, I didn't dream of something that would make me a millionaire. I just thought, oh, my baby is in pain and he's upset and unhappy. So if you have an idea and it's a light bulb moment and it feels right, trust your gut. I think a lot of people get into their head too much. If it's a gut feeling, you need to almost quiet down all the outside noise and what everybody else is saying, and don't even tell people, because everybody has an opinion, and if you suck all that in, it just stops you in your tracks. So just stay true to who you are and just connect with yourself and close your eyes and go quiet and go, does it feel right? If I can picture myself going left or right, this way not doing it, this way doing it, what makes me feel more comfortable and at ease, and go with that feeling. That probably hasn't even answered the question, has it?
No, I think when it is definitely something that you absolutely passionately believe in, I think that's where the magic happens. And that's certainly been the story with you. Kerry Nevins, owner of Babocush. What an incredible edition of the Public Eye podcast. Thanks for joining me today, and it's great to see you doing so well, and it's brilliant now being able to look back at that fantastic journey.
Sarah, can I just say, if anybody does want help or anybody has an idea, can you send them a link to my email, or let them know? Well,
of course, or get in touch.
Yeah.
That's extremely generous of you.
Okay.
It's great to see you giving back. Thanks so much to Kerry for joining me today, and everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Public Eye podcast. We'll see you next time. This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.